Hello and welcome to another episode of Commander Fodder. So in this episode we are up to Ravnica City of Guilds. So I'm going to be picking, well, I've already picked one of the four theme decks that was released alongside the set. And if you've watched the set musings episode, you'll know that what they did was for each set they had a certain amount of guilds relevant to that set, and those guilds then map onto the choice of theme decks. So the guilds for this particular set for Ravnica City of Guilds was Boros, was Dimir, Golgari and Selesnya. Now if you go through these, you can see they're all two colour decks. All of them contain the appropriate on colour bounce land and the on colour utility land for the set. Additionally, they've obviously got the usual two rares that you see in theme decks. So we've got this one, the red-white one, which is a sort of red-white aggro deck where the curve is fairly low. The idea is to get lots of, have a good opening hand where you've got a lot of low casting cost creatures that you can get out real quick. So pretty aggressive deck. And the two rares are Agris, Kos, or Wojak Veteran, and Sunforger, which is a piece of equipment that you can attach to a creature. So you can see that Agris Kos, when it attacks, red creatures get +2/+0 and white creatures get +0/+2. So there was a cycle of 4 legendaries that they all had some sort of effect on their the colours of their guild. And then there was another cycle of rare legendaries as well for each of the guilds, but they had a whole load of different, you could say more powerful effects or more focused on a particular aspect, and we'll see a couple of those in a moment, what those are. So yeah, it's the red-white aggro deck. Then there's a blue-black deck here, which has some mill in it and also has the transmute. You'll see that all the decks have the particular guild ability keyword that's relevant, to that guild. So with the red-white one we've just looked at, that was Radiance. This one, it's Transmute. And this one, as I said, there was some mill stuff going on as well. So there's another way to kill your opponent by basically getting their library down to 0. So basically at that point they can't draw and they lose the game. So there were a lot of cards in this deck that allowed you to mess about with libraries in here. And the two rares were Dream Leash, and we've got Zadek, Lord of Secrets. So you had this choice that if Lord of Secrets would deal combat damage to a player, instead put that many +1/+1 counters on Zadek, and that player puts that many cards from the top of their library into their graveyard. And so this was one of the legendaries that fell into that other category I mentioned. There were 2 cycles of legendaries, 4, one each for the guilds, and this was the other cycle that had quite a powerful effect that was specific to the theme of this particular colour combination. And the same is true of the Golgari deck in terms of that choice of legendary. So for the Golgari deck, you're playing around with the graveyard through the dredge mechanic as well, sort of leveraging that. And the idea is to basically give you this good graveyard where you've got targets for certain abilities and mechanics and themes which are going to pivot off that well-stocked graveyard. So, as I've said, with the other decks, you have these, the corresponding bounce land, utility land, and here we've got a utility land that cares about number of cards in your graveyard. The two rares are Golgari Grave Troll, which has Dredge on it, but also it enters the battlefield with +1/+1 counter on it for each creature card in your graveyard, and you can remove counters or remove a counter from Golgari Grave Troll to regenerate it. It also has Dredge 6 as well. So with the Dredge cards, if you remember, so if you would draw a card, instead you put exactly, and it's based on the Dredge cost or the Dredge value. So with a Dredge of 2, it's 2 cards from the top of your library into your graveyard. If you do, return this card from your graveyard to your hand, otherwise draw your card. So as you saw, the Golgari Grave Troll was a Dredge of 6, so that'll be 6 cards. We've also got Savary, Queen of the Golgari. And this one, whenever you sacrifice a black creature, you may pay 2 life. If you do, each other player sacrifices a creature. Whenever you sacrifice a green creature, you may gain 2 life. So this was in a sort of category of legendary creatures that was caring about the colour identity of certain aspects of your deck. So rather like the the Charge of the Boros deck, where you have this one which cares about red and white creatures and accordingly pumps them either the power or the toughness, but different from the one that you find in the Dimir deck, where it's basically playing around with counters. And then finally we've got the Selesnya United, again same sort of on colour land package that we've seen in the other decks. This one, if you remember, the relevant ability for this colour combination for Selesnya was Convoke, but there's basically a token theme going on in here. So yeah, so there's a number of cards in here which either generate tokens or care about tokens. And if we come down here, the rares, Sign of the Wild. So in this case, it just purely cares about creatures, which again, if you're generating tokens and you've got a high token count, by default, you're going to have by definition, you're going to have a high creature count. And then we've got Tolsimir Wolfblood, another legendary, which is part of that cycle, which cares about the colour identity of the creatures. So with this one, if it's green creatures, they get +1/+1. If it's white creatures, they get +1/+1. But it's others, so it can't pump itself. And also, but it can spit out a 2/2 green and white wolf creature token named Voja, which of course does benefit from that effect. But the trouble is, it is a legend. So you can't be spitting out multiple. Well, you can if you want to, but they'll end up cancelling each other. They cancel each other under the legend rule, or you'll just end up with another one in play, and the one that's already in play will get removed. But on your this only affects your side of the board, obviously. So yeah, it's just something to think about. So you can't you can't have 20 Voja wolf creature tokens on your side of the board, put it that way. But there's other useful creatures in the deck which do benefit from the fact they are both green and white. It's a shame here none of the tokens generated, I don't think, are green and white, because they would get pretty well pumped by that Tolsimir effect, which would be pretty cool. We've got Fists of Ironwood, which was that enchantment. There's lots of interesting a cycle of interesting enchantments in the set which generate they enchant something, but they also have a spell type effect as well, and this one's generating tokens. So here's the deck in its raw form, unaltered. You can see the nice thing is the utility land is spitting out green sapling tokens as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what sort of things get suggested when we do this. So if I come over to here, you see that the deck effectively has been commanderized in that I removed all the multiple copies and brought up the land count by adding additional forests and plains up to a count that's more relevant to, you know, EDH command or whatever you want to call it. So that's my starting point. There is one extra tweak I'm going to do here. So this is, you know, the whole point of having this is it acts as a seed for the architect algorithm, and then from that we just, you know, or I make certain selections. And normally I'll add in additional cards to affect the seed. Occasionally I'll remove cards, and for this one I think I'm going to remove Caregiver, just to give me an extra slot. It doesn't really do much for me in the commander version of this deck, so that's coming out. I'm going to leave in obviously the vanilla Watchwolf because it gets nicely pumped by this effect when Tolsimir is in play. But everything else I'm, you know, fine, including obviously not the best stuff, but I want to just make sure that the algorithm gets, you know, pushes the algorithm in a certain direction, and then we'll go from that. I'm probably also going to add creatures last, but we'll see. Interesting how I'm going to massage this, because as I add stuff, that in turn may affect the algorithm that selects the cards. So I'm just trying to think ahead here. So I'm going to put some artifacts in first, and it'll probably be the usual suspects. I can pretty much guess that we're going to have a number of Selesnya artifacts, which I will include, thematic and a soul ring and stuff like that. So I don't think it's going to go down the Voltron route of putting or suggesting a whole load of equipment. I do want to play this. This is obviously more useful early in the game when I've got tokens, you know, before Tolsimir comes out. If I've got 1/1 tokens, that's going to be good for leveraging card draw. I'd probably just stick this on Tolsimir as well. That's an interesting card to have out. Five artifacts. Just start off with around 7 and see where that takes me. I don't know if I want to play Coat of Arms at this point. I suppose if it starts suggesting a whole load of tokens of a certain creature type, that might work. I think I'll hold on that. Let's have a look. Let's do this again. We'll reverse this a bit, because sometimes because I leave stuff till the end, I forget to do certain things. Okay, what have we got? Okay, creatures, you put a counter on each creature you control of the planeswalker. Gives my creatures vigilance. Yep, it's a doggo. Do any of these generate saplings? Elf Druid. There's a counter thing going on there. Each creature you control. Each creature with control when the wolf or werewolf enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. See, it does fit in with the theme. So my creatures don't tap when during combat, which is interesting because it does mean I can potentially convoke end of turn because my creatures won't be tapped, and then they're untapped on the upkeep, so that's pretty interesting. Let's just try that for the moment. It's tricky to know what to look at first. I suppose I should get an idea about what tokens it's generating. I do want to, it wouldn't hurt me to have just populate in here and some stuff that cares about creatures. Certainly want parallel lives. Well, that's good. So here this would, yeah, that's definitely, we'll stick at that for the moment. What sort of utility land might be in the market for? So we're playing green-white. We should have a command tower in there. Put our friend Evolving Wilds. I've already got one of those. That would be cool. Interested. Oh well, that belongs in. Okay. Could go a bit crazy here. Oh, I can't resist. Can't resist the rogue's passage. Madam. Right. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yep. Right. What sort of creatures are you going to recommend me then? Oh, Llanowar Elves. Oh yeah. I was hoping this was going to come up. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, so that's going to play into that. Okay, so it looks like we are spitting out wolf creatures. We're getting suggestions here that spit out wolf creatures. We've already got a watch wolf in different artwork. Okay, so wolves it is. Interesting. I think I've already got, I'm not sure if I've already got an Armada Wurm in there or not. No. So if we stick around 30 creatures in here, see, this is interesting because it's when it dies. I do it like this. So seeing as we're playing green, we should put that in. And this has got populate on it, so we want that. What's this? Champion an elf. When this creature enters the battlefield, sacrifice unless you exile another elf you control. I suppose I could champion Tolsimir and then just recast it. And then I can start, this will spit out. Yeah, my walls have death touch. Sounds good. Yeah, so it looks like I'm playing walls now. So wolves and saplings or a combination. Okay, we might as well play Llanowar Elf, and I think we're playing green-white. Watch Wolf is already in there, but in a different set. That's why that's coming up. There's a lot of stuff here that just gives me indestructible until end of turn. Instant. I thought I'd put that in. Please. Well, what do you know? 29. So, instants and sorceries. I suspect I'm going to come up with the usual suspects here. So some white removal type shenanigans. Some populatey stuff. Yeah, it's always an interesting utility card. Anything that has some sort of destruction plus creating tokens strapped together is going to be interesting, including stuff that does one thing but also has populate. including a fog effect with populate. Might have got a bit too many instants in there. Was that in there originally and I forgot to change it? Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably another one that I could do without. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'll leave it at that. So what do we got left? 94. So we just want to stick in 6 sorceries. Something like that. Who would have thought? Cultivate, Godam's Reach, Out of the Night Pack, of course. I suppose you don't have a Wrath effect in here. Well, have we got something a bit more dramatic? Oh, that's interesting. As long as no opponents aren't playing tokens. Let's do that. Wow, there's so many different things here we could do. Two more cards. I'm sport for choice, really. Well, why not? Bit of card draw there. I think I want to do that. Whoa! Okay, so there we have it. I think that's where I want to be. A bit unsure about my artifacts, but I think that's good enough for this deck. So let's just export this before I have any mishaps. Okay. Bingo. Right. Let's have a quick look at the stats. I wonder if I want to... Well, that's another thing I would do. I'm not going to worry too much here, but I should really rebalance actually. Maybe I will. Oh, so we're peaking around 4 CMC. Let me just rebalance my forests here. Is that better? Let's just have a look. I don't want to go up that high. Okay, maybe one more. Come here. Try that. Export that. That's better. Okay, so it's an interesting curve there. A lot of 4-drops. So I'll have to bear that in mind. Right, opening hand. 3 forests. Selesnya key rune house. Okay, Aura Mutation. And this. Okay, let's just play it out. Again, as I put creatures in, I'm not going to bother tapping and untapping the land. I'll just make sure I don't cast anything that costs more than my available land that I have. This could go out turn 6. Okay. Oh, I should put a forest out there. Draw. Okay, so I can't play anything here. Maybe I'm going to regret cutting down on the plains there. Okay. Still nothing. We can now play our key rune. That's out. Now, of course, that also, we can turn it into a 3/3 green and white wolf artifact creature token until end of turn. If we play green and a white, and of course with this in play, that gets nicely buffed. So that's good. Oh, we have our plains. Not that we necessarily needed it, I suppose, unless we can play this. Of course, this you can use against your own enchantments as well, if you really wanted to generate tokens. So this is one thing where sort of gold fishing falls apart a little bit, is obviously unless I deliberately kill stuff somehow, my graveyard is going to be pretty empty. So this doesn't really do, yeah, some decks just you don't get a really good feel. Well, gold fishing is full of its own problems anyway, but certain decks I find yeah, don't always goldfish that well, and this may be one of them with some of these cards, where it's caring about things that would normally be filling up, that won't. What have we got? 5. Okay, Master of the Wild Hunt, keep created. I suppose that's the tap all and creature deals damage equal. Tap all and tap all creature you control to target creature. Is equal to its power divided. Okay. Right. So tappity tappity tap. Out this comes. Okay. Just powerful tap as you have two or more opponents. Well, let's pretend I do. So all we're doing is just, I'm just going to play this till the point at which we start to see, you know, a lot of token generation. So this, yeah, I can't play this yet anyway, but obviously I suppose what we want to do is if we only get any cards that are asking us to draw or search for lands, then we want to be putting forests out. That definitely would be a thing. Okay. Oops, it's already at 40. Okay. So I'm just deciding. Yep, so we'd get this out. We could swing with this. Also, at our upkeep, this would be generating a token. So this is generating 2/2 wolf tokens. Yep, we don't have to do anything for that. It's just the beginning of the upkeep. So, you know, previously I would have swung with that. Yeah, now we're swinging with this. So we've got 6 on board. And then by the time we can swing with the next thing, then 8. But anyway, let's just have a look. Just curious at the point at which this gets dangerous for our opponents. 4, 5. I should really start to think about getting this out. More planes. It's not really helping our Howl of the Night pack, unfortunately. Oh, yeah, this is the trouble. Get a bit carried away here. But, yeah, so for every upkeep, we would have also been generating wolf tokens as a result of this. So now we've got 12 damage on the board. We'd also want to have our Tolsimir out. Now these are just straight green creatures, so in actual fact, as soon as we get this out and start swinging, these all become so these become 3/3s. This becomes a 4/5, and this becomes a 4/4. So it's 8. 8 plus 9, which is what, 17. And if we swung with this as well. So now we're starting to have sort of serious damage, serious power on board. Also, this can be spitting out 2/2s, and it's green and white, or spitting out a 2/2, so it's green and white. So then that would be a 4/4 as well. At the point of, if we wanted to just tap this rather than attack with it. So that would be, obviously next turn we get that choice. And this again we'd want a time for when something's died. Otherwise it just generates a 2/2 for 4. So if I was to tap that. Oh, what am I doing? I didn't want to create a copy of that. No. Is that gonna go away? That wasn't supposed to do that. I wanted to create. It doesn't actually differentiate there. I think one of those is probably supposed to be a green-white one. And again with these, these are all getting pumped. Basically. This one is, 4/4 now. How much mana have we got here? Yeah. I might want to hold off doing this. This certainly can be played at any time. There's no advantage in having any particular thing. We can also tap down creatures to convoke this if we don't want to invest any mana. Once this comes into play, then we've got basically 3 1/1 sapling tokens out there as well. Whoops. So again, these would actually be 2/2s because of this effect. Just untap that. So now with Sign of the Wild, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and sorry, I keep forgetting to do this. Of course, for all the upkeeps, we've got this generating wolf tokens as well. So, yeah, more wolves. I think I probably only had 1 since then, maybe 2. But you can just get a feel for it. So this is constantly creating tokens, which is making this thing go up all the time. So the more this is generating, the more this gets pumped ad infinitum. Yeah. Another plains. Not really helping our Howl of the Wolf Pack, is it? We don't actually, did I? I should have dragged that in because I wanted to do that. I've got myself muddled up now. Didn't mean to drag that one. I wanted to drag that one. That was the one I played to get those. So again with this, just whenever anything dies, that's probably the optimal time to play that. I mean, it's a creature, so it's going to help in lots of different ways. And if we had an enchantment we wanted to get back, if we were playing this in real life and not gold fishing, then that would be good. So yeah, so basically you can see here that primarily what's going on is we're spitting out, we get the Master of the Wild Hunt out, then we got wolf tokens coming out, no problem. So I'm just going to do some drawing here just to see what's down the road. Okay, giant creature gets +0/+2 for each other creature you control. 2 until end of turn. Oh, populate. Oh, lovely. So, for argument's sake, and again, if we got to this point, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me just put that back in my library for the moment. So, supposing we got to this point here, we'd have 4 more wolf tokens. So we got wolves everywhere. We got this fella here getting out of control. We probably would have killed at least one opponent by now. In a goldfish scenario anyway. And then we play this out. We got tons of mana. And this just goes crazy. because of course this is populating on all the tokens in play, so we're going to end up with multiple copies of this. This is going to go through the roof. It's a shame. Yeah, so of course the other thing, these will just cancel each other out, because this is actually the legendary creature wolf. Oh, it did create the right one. Good. It's good. So yeah, that would get populated. I don't think there's a thing that just says create multiple copies of all the tokens in play. But yeah, so then things would get really obscene. What do we have after that? We had that forest, didn't we? Sundering growth. Oh yeah, more populate. So, and a rogue's passage. Card draw, evolving wilds. Yada yada yada. More sapling tokens. So yeah, that looks pretty cool. Let me just, and it will turn up opening hand. Oh look, actually this is pretty good. Yeah, I like this opening hand. Got Commander Sphere, Plains and a Forest. Let's just see. Yeah, it's another forest. Got Planeswalker. Yeah, we're having a bit of a problem here with land, but of course we've got Kodama's Reach. And we've got Llanowar Elves. So this doesn't look too shabby. We're not really... We're more building our board than really starting to spit tokens out. So we're getting a lot of the support cards here, but we haven't really got anything for it to support. And then we've got a whole ton of forests. So yeah, promising, but yeah, not quite as fun as the other one. Yeah, similar sort of scenario. Anyway, it's the sort of deck to just play around with, I think, and just go down various rabbit holes of whatever theme you want to play to, and just swap out some other cards which aren't relevant to that theme. Looking at the way the tokens are behaving, I think the presence of Skull Clamp is probably not required. From what we've seen so far, once the tokens start getting spat out. Although you could argue, if you're in a scenario where nothing was happening and you were spitting out the poorer tokens, the 1/1s, then Skull Camp might be good for card draw and rectifying that situation. So that could be an argument for still including it. Interesting. Okay, so there we have it. That's the deck, or the Commander Fodder deck that I've actually built from, obviously, the original theme deck, or inspired from the original theme deck in Ravnica. Original Ravnica, should I say. And here it is, and I will, as usual, post the deck list in the descriptions. And I think I'll leave it at that then. So there we go. So thanks once again for watching. Bye for now.